This question gives us a very specific line reference. It's very narrow, just 2 words in line 38. But we should know from experience that if we're told to read something, we should at least read the full sentence. But even more important than that, we need to read an extra sentence on either side, the +1 sentence rule, just to make sure we get the context. Partly because it helps us understand what's being said, but also because a lot of times the SAT specifically puts the correct answer just outside of the line reference that they tell us, so that, we get a little thrown off, and just this is our way of kind of getting back in the game. So we're being asked about this phrase broad brush, but let's look for kind of similar ideas as we read here. The results show that the range of striped species overlaps with where biting flies are most active, regardless of species and where the stripes occur in the body, according to the study. So talking about the study, so that's good, and what are we saying? There's a range of striped species, it's overlapping, regardless of species. We're talking about the results broadly. Brenda Larison, a biologist at the University of California, Los Angeles, who studies stripes and plain zebras, said the new study's approach is broad brush and that more specific research may be needed. That's why, quote, the story is likely to be much more complex, and this is unlikely to be the last word on the subject. So the main ideas are repeated ideas. What is being repeated? That more research is necessary, right? That idea is clearly being repeated, and that it's broad brush because there's a range of species that have been looked at. So those 2 ideas I'm already going to kind of use as I answer these questions and look at the choices. So Larison suggests that the study produced results that are relevant to an array of scientific disciplines. Well, no, it's not talking about multiple disciplines. It's still talking about the zebras and, what that might mean. It's not talking about like physics and chemistry. It's very much about biology. So no. B, it revealed that further research will require a specialized focus. Yeah, further research matches really well with what she says, more specific research may be needed. So yeah, that's probably it. Require is a strong word, but we have a pretty solid check here. So let's see. I mean, if there was a better choice, I would be maybe more afraid of the word require, but I have some pretty good evidence for B right now. C, it raised theoretical questions that proved unanswerable. Speaking of strong words, that's super strong. Prove is a very strong word, and unanswerable is a very strong word. They got results. They got some sense of what's going on. They're not saying that that's completely bad as a result. It's still a valid result. It's just that they think more research is probably necessary because it was a broad brush approach. So this is way stronger. And that's kind of what we have to do. Sometimes if you're down to 2 answer choices and you're like, well, these both seem right or these both seem wrong, you really got to just kind of put them next to each other and weigh them. C is much, much worse than B, even if they're both a little strong. D, they collected far more data than could be analyzed properly. Again, no, they're not saying we have too much data. They're saying we need more data. We need more research in order to understand better what's going on. So B matches very clearly with what we read. And even though there are some words that maybe make us a little nervous, we have much more evidence of B than any of these other choices. We have to just weigh that that amount of evidence against everything else and pick the place where we can make the best bet, the best guess, and that's definitely this. I think though, even though right after 38, right after broad brush, it says more specific research, we are more confident that that's what they're talking about because we read an extra line on top of that where it says that it's unlikely to be the last word. That same idea of more research is repeated, and because it's repeated, we know it's important, and that's how we get our answer.